Hello again. I'm back, as promised in the Every Dragon Type Move Explained video, to explain in more detail what Roar of Time even is. It's easily one of the most interesting and complicated moves in the game. I mean, how does a roar distort time even a little bit? I suppose it makes sense that this is the signature move of Dialga, the Pokemon deity of time, but still, while the dragon type is based in a lot of arcane magic, there has to be a bit of science we can apply to it, right? Plus, I love Dialga. It's one of my all-time favorite box legendaries. I mean, it's blue and cool. What's not to love about his dumb elongated head?
That's quite big.
So I just needed an excuse to make a video all about it. Check out this limited time Dragon Month only t-shirt design. Get it at noggin.net now or never. Roar of Time is a crazy move. Here's how the Pokédex describes it. The user blasts the foe with power that distorts even time. The user must rest on the next turn. In a way, it's basically a reskin of Hyper Beam, but it's Dialga themed. And being the creator of time and all, I feel that it's perfectly acceptable that it can distort time. Also, in later dex entries, the end bit actually changes to the user can't move on the next turn. So this move is so crazy that even the creator of time has to stop for a turn to rest up. Jeez! Also, this is the strongest base damage dragon type move that isn't a Z move. Also, it just looks great. The best laser in the whole game. These are all straightforward facts, people. As for how it works, though, that's gonna take a while to explain. And I don't want this video to go on too long, so I'm gonna start getting into it. So despite being named Roar of Time, the move actually appears to be just a mega blast of energy. I mean, the ability Soundproof doesn't work when confronted with this power, so it's not really a Roar of Time, is it? However, we could take it literally anyway. And plus, fluff reasons. What would it take for a literal roar to do it? Also, that sounds like a lot of fun. So let's do that. Plus, come to think of it, Soundproof not blocking it makes sense anyway, because if we're dealing with a sound capable of distorting time, I doubt any sort of soundproof ability is going to matter. And before you ask, yes, its name is still Roar of Time in Japanese. It's very much a roar of time that then blasts a beam of energy forward, as if it roars and combines all that sound into a tiny space and then shoots it forward. So, a power so strong it can distort time, huh? That's gotta be huge. I mean, is there even anything that strong? And if so, why haven't we invented time travel yet? Huh, Mr. Science Man? Unless it was hidden under our noses the whole time. Though I feel like time travel and such is more a philosophical issue rather than a scientific one. I mean, time doesn't even exist, you know? Unless you believe that it does. In which case, time just is. It's essentially a constant. Time is pretty much made up by man to explain that things happen after each other. I do this, and then I do that. That happened after this. You can tell and prove it based on the time that they happened. Time isn't a force. It isn't an actual measurement of something. It's just a reference. Any number value is meaningless unless there is a previous number value. Basically, time is nothing. Now, to ignore the existential crisis, there are some fun things that Roar of Time does. It states that it can distort time due to its immense power. Now, we could just say that Dialga shoots a concentrated beam of time energy that explodes so violently it creates a micro vacuum in time, similarly to a small explosion in water. It expands and then immediately collapses. But what time energy is fictional. So while I'm not sure on time energy, I do know a fair amount of real-world physics, so let's try some of those on for size. Starting with gravitational time dilation. Basically, and this is super simplified, time is slowed the closer you are to very large gravitational fields, such as the Earth or other celestial bodies. This time dilation is really small. I mean, GPS satellites orbiting the Earth do actually have to correct for the fact that time passes very slightly more slowly on the Earth's surface than it does in low Earth orbit, by about 1 second for every 60 years. That's nothing, but the computer needs to know this to get accurate GPS readings and all. And Earth is pretty big, whereas Dialga isn't all that large. I doubt it could affect time in this way, especially since that's more of a space thing. And that's Palkia's territory. However, there is one type of celestial body that I know of that may do the trick, and you probably have the same idea in your head right now. It's black holes. I mean, black holes, man! How do they even work? They're almost like magnets. Magnets of the universe. Mysteries of the universe. Black holes are super dense gravity generators, in a way. Speaking of gravity, let's talk about Einstein. Cool guy, with even cooler theories. Basically, energy is mass. You know, E equals mc squared stuff. So in theory, energy could be considered mass via that equation. In fact, it's his other theory of relativity that is what explains the whole gravity-time thing. And that word, relativity, really hurts our Pokemon move. You see, the time right next to a black hole is unchanged. But Lockstin, why do satellites need to correct them? Ah, good, you were listening. I will try my best to explain this easily. If someone were to go into a black hole and flash a light back to Earth every second, time would be completely normal to them. They would continue flashing their light all the way until they got turned into soup or whatever happens inside of a black hole. However, if someone was watching them, they would see the light flashes slow down as they got closer and closer to the event horizon. Eventually, they wouldn't see the light at all, as the time between the flashes would be so long that they would die before they saw the next one. So time isn't really even broken with a black hole. It's relative. Both places are experiencing time at the same rate. A second is a second. So I'm not sure you can really even distort time enough to damage anything. It's the gravity that's doing that. Space. However, if something like the event horizon's gravitational influences affected a single point on Earth, impossible as that may be, I would definitely consider that a sort of time distortion from the outside observer, or Dialga, or anyone else in the battlefield that isn't the Pokemon being hit. And to cause that sort of distortion takes a lot of energy. A lot! In fact, if someone were to experience this time dilation, they wouldn't actually feel any different, because again, relativity, but to someone watching, they would almost not age at all. It's kind of like Interstellar, the whole movie about the theory of relativity, but how this slightly differed time or relativity hurts something, not sure. But the energy to create such a distortion, now that would hurt. After all, we're talking black hole power here. Okay, but taking the name literally, now how could sound even make a black hole? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, sound is a tricky thing. Similarly to time, sound isn't actually an easily quantifiable, measurable thing. It's a reference. Meaning, that lawnmower may seem loud, but it's relatively quiet compared to a jet engine now, isn't it? Also, if your ears are more or less sensitive, because you're an animal that has huge ears, or no ears, what is loud and what is quiet is completely different. However, most people make the base reference to the quietest thing as 0 decibels, or nothing. Kinda like how we all agree on seconds for time, but we still had to make up what a second was. Fun fact! Since 1967, the second has been defined as the duration of 9,192,631,770 periods of the radiation corresponding to the transition between the two hyperfinite levels of the ground state of the cesium-133 atom at a temperature of 0 Kelvin. And funnily enough, that's basically because that's what the second that we made up already was, and then later we found an atom that happens to vibrate at just the right frequency, so now we have a second that's based off of a real physical thing, but our made-up number came up first. So with sound being basically the vibration of airwaves, we actually have the main source of energy. I didn't mean to throw them. But how do you even fathom that kind of energy? Plus, how loud is this roar? That would be a fun number to think of. And unfortunately, we can't really figure out those specific numbers, as the power it takes to make a black hole is still a mystery for you. for us humans. But we can make crazy guesses, right? I mean, a rocket ship lifting off is 200 decibels, right? And the loudest noise in human history, the eruption of Krakatoa, which was heard around the globe multiple times as the sound waves continuously circled the globe, it was so loud, and it was around 300 decibels. And it's theorized that our sun could be 400 decibels loud. Thank God sound doesn't travel through space, because, fun fact, if the space between the sun and the earth was air instead of space, we could hear it at a deafening 120 decibels, which is basically if you stood next to a train horn, but always. And that's what the sun would sound like at our distance from it. And our sun is a rather small star. If we're talking black holes capable of changing time, then we may be dealing with something magnitudes higher than our lousy sun. Some estimate that this would be somewhere between 800 and 1,100 decibels. And that's ridiculous. The difference between 1 decibel, the quietest sound you can hear, to 100 decibels is a factor of 10 billion times louder. It's a stupid logarithmic function. Going from 20 to 30 decibels is significantly, basically exponentially, a greater change than going from 10 to 20. Even though the number differences are the same, that's not how it works. This is bigger than this, if that makes sense. So 1,100 decibels is absolutely ridiculously loud, let's just say. You don't understand. You really can't. 1,100 decibels is 10 to the 109th power times louder than 10 decibels. That's 109 zeros. Look at this freaking number. It's still going. Still. Now put it all on screen at once. The heck. And that's how much sound-based energy you would need to just start to distort time. Interstellar is BS. Theoretically, anyway. We don't really understand this stuff yet. I mean, the closest comparable sound that you may have experienced, since Krakatoa happened forever ago, would be, like, the PS2 startup sound or something. Or video auto-playing on a website.
Coming soon to own on DVD and video.
This attack is like a death vuvuzela. The vuvuzela. Also, side note, there's no way anything could create that amount of power. The science just isn't there. But that's how loud this roar would need to be to even begin to distort time, and that only works based on certain theories of relativity. Time is dumb. Honestly, Dialga probably doesn't have that much power. I mean, if we look at facts, Dialga and Palkia combined couldn't even create major time distortions, even under the control of Cyrus. So, no restraint here. But if Dialga just kept roaring forever, it would destroy the entire region with those sound waves long before any time distortion happened. So the attack that we see Dialga do? Nah. It's fictional time magic. Just like time travel backwards. Completely fictional. That's the only real explanation. But hey, it's fun to think of big numbers, isn't it? And to apply some semblance of real-world science to a fictional universe aimed at kids. I mean, you gotta enjoy it. That's why you click on my videos. I know you don't just watch it for me. Who would do that? So hopefully this video helps you truly understand that time is a man-made constraint. And also, as a bonus, now you know how the move Roar of Time works. Maybe. Dialga just yells super hard while also shooting an energy cannon of magical time energy. Easy stuff. Are there any other moves that you would like a really in-depth explanation of? And if you like doing this, then check out our whole series about Pokemon moves explained. Named Pokemon Moves Explained. You'll love it. Anywho, always remember to use your noggin and check out Gnoggin.net for a limited time Dragon Month offer. Now's the only time to get it. We're almost gone. They're almost done. You got by the time this video posts, you have a day or two. So if you like it, get it now. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it on screen. Maybe everywhere. Thanks so much for watching. Different.